So today we are going to go into the story of the Middle East and how the impact of beauty and health is coming together as one to lead to more innovation and development in the field. So we have the looking into what is about the Middle East market and how does it show globally versus locally. So we are going to look at these two aspects of the market, global and local. Then we are going to look at what's the significance and where does the Middle East and Africa market start right now. We are going to then explore in terms of key trends how beauty and health are coming together to put a powerful agenda into the industry and in the consumer's mind as well. We're going to have a very interesting case study storyboard to showcase this, and then we're going to discuss the key takeaways because we all kind of know the future is now. In the global beauty and personal care industry, we see this is worth to be 535 billion US dollars as of 2022. It is one of the largest industries that has become so in as the years pass by. With that, we also see with great challenge, with great opportunities does come challenges. So this industry, like any in the other industry, has also been impacted by macroeconomic factors, which we are going to discuss in a little bit. But some of them that we might have already felt is the rising cost of living and inflation. At the same time, what we need to understand over here with such a big industry, what is the growth rate globally so that we can compare it locally as well. We see a 7% growth rate when it comes to beauty and personal care growth. And when we look at it, we look at it at current terms. If we look at the real growth in terms of constant terms, however, we do see a little flattish to negative market. So this kind of very nicely explains the impact of inflation and cost of living being reflected over here. Then when we see this, how is the growth of this market going to be in the next 5 years from the duration of 2022 to 2027? We see a 8% CAGR, which is actually very good compared to all the markets in the world. And when we look at 8%, it is at current value terms, that is including the effect of inflation, etc. But when we look at the real growth rate, it is also positive at a 3%. Now, this is the global market. When we compare it to the Middle East and Africa, what do we see? We see that this region is quite significant. We see that it just follows the key markets, and then we are at the fifth position. So it's quite significant of a market, close to 40 billion US dollar. So that's very interesting. When we see at the growth rate, we see something more interesting, and that's that we are growing at a faster rate compared to globally at the rate of 4%, also expected during the forecast period of 2022 and 2027. So this is something that's really interesting, which says that the global market is going to benefit during the forecast period. But what we see is that the Middle East and Africa continues to grow more strongly than the global, than the whole global beauty market. So what is it that we need to understand over here are what are the factors influencing the industry. We see that there is a high consumer appetite. And now when we look at the high consumer appetite, we consider all genders and all age groups are more than ever more interested in buying beauty and personal care products. There is also a higher level of natural beauty engagement. Consumers are going online, looking for information, and then doing their purchase in more informed way than they did ever before. We also have revived routines. Consumers are looking at how their lifestyles have changed over the years and what does it mean for them to go through a skincare process, to through cosmetics, to go through a hair care procedure. In the morning when we wake up, we brush our teeth, we wash our face. We all have that beauty routine and personal care inbuilt into the system. And one thing we realized, global and local, it is one of the strongest industries that is happening. So we see this effect to be very in trend, and then we have a very positive and strong trickle down effect in the Middle East. So we need to, when we look at the scorecard in one way or the other, we see more opportunities than challenges. And when this happens, this leads to further growth because then the industry comes out with innovative ways of tackling with it through R&D as well, which we will delve in later on as well. What does it mean? And where is this coming from? Which is the key markets or categories of significance? We do see and know that fragrances continues to be culturally significant in the region, and we do see that continues to strongly showcase in our results as well. Hair care is a very interesting one. Over the years, we have seen also the hair care categories develop more than ever before. We used to think about like mass hair care, your general shampoo, but now think prestige hair care. You need your conditioner, you need your hair mask, you need your oiling. And apart from even like the usual industries, even when you go to cosmetology or if you go to salons, there is a wider range available now than ever before, not only related to hair loss, but also hair maintenance, and even anti-hair graying is something that's becoming really interesting. So we see hair care, fragrances, skincare, and color cosmetics to continue to be the leading players in the industry. So as I mentioned earlier, Middle East and Africa region is worth 40 billion US dollar as of 2022. When you look at the current growth rate, we see an average of overall 22%. Some categories also had it much higher, and some categories were also very strong in double-digit growths, like you can imagine 35%, 55%, etc. So overall average in current, considering effect of inflation, macroeconomic factors, etc., 22%. If you look at constant, it averaged at a 5%. And then when you look at the forecast growth predictions as well, we have 16% in the next 5 years at current terms and 4% in constant terms. So in either case, we're growing. And what is leading to this growth? Let's find out in the next few minutes. But before doing that, we need to be aware of what's happening in the world as well. And this is something really important because your consumers are going to be around different target segmentation. And this would mean that their purchasing power, they would have the money, but the cost of living would want them to look around and focus on what they actually want to focus on. Now, this cost of living and inflation scenario that we have right now versus before is a bit different. Come on, we all succeeded and are here after COVID-19. We have a lot going on in the world. Every weekend has some news or the other. So while you're trying to enjoy life, you would hear of something. So yeah, so of course, knowing that there are stresses around us, so and as we also continue to evolve in technology, innovation, product development, etc., we have a lot on our plates. But at the same time, what we also see that, in terms of money, we are actually growing, but then cost of inflation and other factors would mean that our purchase power is somewhat rebased in one way or the other. Countries of Saudi and UAE were not that much affected compared to the global markets as of 2022, which is a really positive potential for people to invest in this market, for brands and companies to come and invest in this market because of safety, security reasons, because of the government agenda to boost economies and trade, etc., for businesses to be open and be able to have that ease of acceptance from the government as well. So, and then also consumers being involved in it. So what we see is that the cost of living and inflation needs to be considered in everyone's strategies and how that will be evolving globally and in the markets as well. What are the leading countries for beauty and personal care in MENA? And as I mentioned, I would call it more like the pillars of strength. And last year, who were there with me, they know I mentioned 3. And this is a next level evolvement of the pillars of strength happening over here. So regionally, we continue to see very strong development in Saudi. This is followed by UAE. We also see GCC countries and even North African countries having really showing this strength in terms of development and production Egypt is a very good example. They're really boosting local manufacturing and production and putting their products out into the country and as well as in the neighborhood around. We also see very strong developments happening in other GCC countries. And in terms of more products getting into the market, I would proudly say in the UAE and Saudi, we've seen a large number of new products that have come in from global to local, as well as we have seen more in the local space as well, which is a great aspect. And we will see this through some case studies as well. Purchases that they find value in. What we observed, and we will discuss a little later as well with the consumer survey information, is that consumers actually are going to spend in something that they're going to find more value of. So if I know I'm going to buy a skincare product that's going to really contribute to my healthy skin, and in the future maybe I don't need Botox and I don't need to go for invasive surgeries or something like this, I might as well buy that cream even if it's expensive and contribute to the health and maintenance of my skin. So understanding this, and also the fact that this industry globally is also performing super well in one way or the other, and that is also going to be much stronger in the Middle East. It's something that we have to keep on reminding ourselves to take the best potential for now being the time. So these are some aspects that I'm going to delve into because they have grown over the years. From last year to this year, it has become more significant than ever before. So I'm going to give a moment to go to these, and then I have chosen certain ones which are of key priority or key focus area. A lot of people always told me that, money and investment. I agree with it, but there is a catch always, is that if you don't have health, then your productivity or your ability to earn money somewhat gets tempered. This year, as we go forward, 2023, we're almost entering 2024, people are realizing that if your health is at stake, then everything is at stake. So when it comes to investment, health, money, and time needs to be used wisely. And that's where this agenda in beauty and health also is transforming and coming across. So, self care as a form of investment is something that consumers are really realizing and businesses are responding to. And governments also want to reduce the burden of healthcare within their country, because if they spend more on sickness, then that's also a burden. And if consumers and people are healthy in a society, that speaks for itself. They are more functional. There is more focus on everyday living, on growing rather than surviving. So these things are coming up as a really key base theme. We see not only beauty and personal care industries responding to it, but also consumer health. So the healthcare industry, food, nutrition, drinks. We see other industries also getting into the space. We also see a lot of FMCG companies also getting into the beauty space. So everyone wants to be where we are. So that's good. And there's an increasing focus on body optimization as part of health optimization. So, being in, let's say, your best version of yourself in a natural, healthy way is actually being encouraged right now, so that you kind of don't fall into the trap of being like non-functional if you're not healthy, let's say. So taking the precaution early is where the strength comes from. Gender specific health and beauty needs and wants and inclusivity, this is something really interesting. We've all heard of women's health. We've all heard of equality, etc. But what this also looks at is beyond women's health, also to consider men's health, to make sure that our children are in also hopefully not as sick as they used to be before, but in a realistic way. So it looks at how beauty and personal care products can also contribute to having undisrupted daily lifestyles. Think oral care, think oral hygiene, cavities in children. Like if they create a toothpaste or a fluoride paste that is put on the mouth of the child, which gives them protection from cavities for 6 months, I mean, all of these things are already in the market right now. So thinking out of the box for these players, for our brands, this is something that's really becoming interesting. Whenever you put self-care into the front, prioritize, you see the results and the feeling for it. Mental and physical well-being through keeping stress levels low is becoming increasingly important now than ever before. And when you take your products and just have your me time for 5 minutes, if you have the luxury to do that, it's like whatever the household is going through. I think some people can relate over here. It's like, give me my 10 minutes, I will come back, do whatever you have to do to the family members, just have your skincare routine, and then so it's kind of like meditation also in some way or the other. So these are some interesting elements that we see, which are developing, and it's also very important to note when it comes to like brand transformation, innovation, and development of products. There are two sides of this. We have the Voice of the Consumer Health and Nutrition Survey. Like this, similarly, we also have Euromonitor's Voice of the Consumer Lifestyle Survey. We also have Voice of the Industry surveys as well. And when we did these surveys, we see this coming out very interestingly across the board, that people are saying, I mean, at once upon a time, I would say for mental health and well-being, either we didn't have the awareness or we had it by default. So there was never a focus area. But yes, global events out of our zone and within our zone have been shaken a bit. And we see that when it comes to health and nutrition, or when it comes to health also, healthy means mental well-being, having a healthy immune system. Like, who wants to break into rashes every time a news gets broken into? There are people like that. So, and they never had it before, so we have to know what's happening to consumers with the biome changing, and we have to adjust to it as well. I was speaking to some professionals in the healthcare and the beauty industry, and they were seeing some things on consumers that had not seen before in terms of resistance of like skin, let's say eczema or rashes or infections. And they said, we want new products in the market that treats them quicker. So definitely there is more scope, and this is where it's coming from. Feeling good, it's really important, I would say. Absence of disease, emotional well-being. If we think about how our products and services are not only helping consumers in the now, but also in the midterm and long term, because of course every brand wants to remain with the consumer for the different life stages. I think that's where we are getting at. When a consumer is picking a product, you not think about it being with the consumer in that segment only, depending on the product, of course, but also how that product will go with the other life stages of this for the consumer. So, in terms of holistic wellness, here are some examples. And this is for cross-industry examples, not limited, but a starting point. So we do, of course, see holistic wellness also coming up apart from beauty and personal care and feminine care, in nutrition, dietary supplements, home care, fashion and apparel. And we do see that, with the perception of health and beauty becoming more merged, I would say, hybrid offerings or cross-industry offerings to have like, okay, if you have your need for supplements, then go ahead and buy it from a beauty brand for your hair. So concepts like this are really coming in because the brand also wants to be like, hey, I genuinely care about you as a consumer and I want to be with you throughout your life stages. So talking about life stages, bingo. Okay, talk all the men out there, we love you too, and you have your own stuff that we need a chart on soon. Probably next year I'll be over here talking about this in more detail for like men's health. But today, as an example, I take women's health and wellness. And this is something really, really interesting again, because we just think about it as, oh, she rises, woman empowerment, but there's a lot that people and women go through, and the people around them as well. And for what we see the industry is doing in responding to these needs more openly than ever before, and going out and being like, hey, we are there for you. So we would all have heard of this in some way or the other, quite detailed. But then, of course, at the age from, let's say, 12 to 15, you have your menstrual cycle. Then there's the birth years, probably, let's say, from 20 to 40 is the where women would give birth, probably. Then you would have perimenopause stage, you would have the menopause stage. So there's a lot that a woman is going through. So just imagine, like, brands helping a woman out during this. And just don't think about it in a limited way. If we expand it also, like acne breakouts, to keep the skin clear, how can one do that? For example, we do have beauty and healthcare brands that a lot focus on the clear skin and aspects such as that. We also have, like, the skin reactions that happen because of how one is doing and their health wise. So all of this could be looked into in much more detail when it comes to brands, and then how they can support any gender. I mean, even if you look at children, when they're small, they might have eczema, severe dry skin. So in that case, this is where we are coming into, is staying where the brands, where the beauty and health brands are staying with the consumer, not only in one life stage, but throughout the life stages, and they can have different products for this. So, at the same time, of course, where we celebrate humanity, womanhood, why not also celebrate culture and heritages? I think this one is also really important, because often we hear of, like, halal, we hear of, like, Asian beauty concepts, etc. But at the same time, in our region, we have such a rich, diverse culture and heritage, and each country and region has its own products. So I would also like to discuss about the Arab health beauties. So this is something that's really that we have seen in some brands in the region and locally as well, but it's been around for quite some time, and Luban, I'm not sure how many have heard of this, Omani frankincense. Yes, so we have a great crowd over here. So this one has really great properties for your skin, for your hair. It has some even, like, anti-aging elements into it. We have cedar leaves, which has also been used in some products, to make sure that for the health of the scalp as well. So it could be used in some shampoos or some, like, shampoo bars. Camel milk, we all know how it goes. Everyone has seen a camel in the region for sure. Black seed is really known for its qualities, its healing properties, etc. Olive, we know we can put it in salads and as a body oil as well. Honey. We also have henna, which is basically, what you put on the hand, but also used as for your hair, for other things as well. So we have henna also. And so we have to realize that how they have been around us for a lot of while, and how they continue to be evolved in beauty and personal care products, and continue to remain in a lot of product portfolios, and get into more product lines. These Arab beauty ingredients coexist in this market. K beauty is very popular over here. We've seen an increasing number of brands. We do see more coming on from J beauty and C beauty as well. Ayurvedic, it's very famous over here. You can also find Ayurvedic centers which focus on this. And then, of course, Australian beauty, it's increasing as well. We see a lot of range even in pharmacies and even hypermarket, supermarket now. And then halal, which we know of. Every product by default in this region is halal. And that concept is also expanding globally. So this is one interesting trend as well. So exploring the next phase of wellness, of course, when we strive, we eventually want to thrive. We always want to be in that state where, as humanity, I feel like, when you are surviving, you always want to be in that growing phase. And somewhere down the line, our products, beauty and healthcare, do come into it as well. You know, when you get up in the morning, you're brushing your teeth, you're washing your face, you're having a shower. It's part of basic hygiene, personal grooming, and then, you know, if you're putting skincare to maintain your skin and just to feel good, you have your makeup on, etc. You're putting perfume on. I mean, there's a lot going on in this case. It does the market is realizing there is more to it than beauty, and personal care is greater than their imagination right now. And then we did do other surveys as well. As I mentioned, a Voice of the Consumer Health and Nutrition Survey. We also have Euromonitor International's Voice of the Consumer Lifestyle Survey. And through this, we also found out that, you know, 39% of professionals, so industry professionals, plan to focus on wellness beauty tactics as part of the innovation in 2023. And then they realize that, you know, when they do realize that there are sleeping concerns, weight management, stress and anxiety, mental health, and skin health. And when it comes to skin health and all those aspects, they can easily create products after understanding their consumers and relate to them as well. So this is something that we see. And then again, when you look at the consumers, they have been doing well. We kind of always did this somewhere down the line, but more specifically, they are been going into for massages. And you know, when we think about it, massages not only relaxes you, you know, it cleans your lymphatic system in one way or the other, helps your body to relax by releasing the toxins out of your body. So there is more science and already habit or logic that was there before. So it's all interconnecting in a seamless way over here. We have meditation, herbal remedies, yoga, sleep aids, spa visit. So these kind of things are appearing more and more. So people, like, before going to therapy, just go for the regular stuff as well, and then as you need, go for it. So companies are realizing that the consumers have evolved and how to respond to it by better products and services in relation to time. So to evolve is the need of the time, basically. So time for some case studies. There are the case studies from the international brand, which is available in the region. So we have Antibodies. Now they introduced their probiotic range. And the idea of this probiotic range is to ensure that the fauna and fiona of your skin. So basically, you know, on your skin, you always have some kind of microbiome in your whole body because we're living creatures. So to keep this balanced, and this could be actually good for keeping skin clear in times when needed. So this is something that's interesting because probiotic we heard only for the gut health in the past, but we see coming in more healthcare, beauty and healthcare ranges. So we also have this brand called Vigamore. This is a healthcare brand. It's a hair care brand, basically. It's vegan, as it says. And it also has a product which is called Grow Ageless, which is basically a hair serum that says that it will help with the prevention of graying or stop it or maybe also remove it, you know. And along with this serum, they also have supplements. So if you take it with the supplements, it is to help. So this is very interesting because we always heard about hair loss, but you know, premature graying is something that's also very present and dominating, and people are looking into ways into that. So there is more innovation in that space also coming through. Now, of course, how can I not talk about sustainability? Have to. So there is a perfume which is called Myself by YSL, and this basically comes in a refillable bottle. So Myself, it of course talks about the, you know, how I want to be myself. This is a men's fragrance, of course, endorsed by celebrity actor Austin Butler, and represents not only the expression of man in terms of its scent, but also you can continue to refill this bottle and feel it. So it's good in two ways. It conveys the message of what the brand is, but it's also towards sustainability. So this is out there as well. This is global, but also available locally. Then, when we come to regional brands, we continue to see evolvement and development into it. We have the Camel Soap Factory. They've been around for a while, but recently they also launched the hair care shampoo and condition bars and the usual size as well as the travel size. And what's interesting, some of the Arab beauty ingredients I mentioned are also in this. So checklist complete over here. It has the camel milk. I think they also use cedar, and they also use like I'm sure olive oil. So this is like a perfect example over here. Avalon Care is a Saudi beauty and health company. They are a lot deeper into healthcare as well. But what we see is that they have expanded into the beauty segment, into the skincare health segment, and the like. So it's a proud to be Saudi health and beauty brand with a wide product portfolio such as Alpha Plus for brightening and evening skin tone, and Avalon Care for hair care, and it also provides medicines to the pharma industry and to the healthcare industry as well. So we see that there is a blend when we talk about beauty and personal care players. They are from FMCG, they're from the pharma industry, they are from food, nutrition, Nestle also, P&G, all of them, they have their hands in this industry. So that's like, the more the merrier coming over here. So we also have Peaceful by Salama. We are going to probably see her today as well, if you check the schedule. So she will be over here. So Peaceful by Salama, if you've not heard, it's a UE-based, conscious, self-love, inclusive skincare brand. And of course, it's been around more recently, but it continues to grow. Not only is it available in UAE, but it's also now extending its reach to other countries such as US, Canada, UK, and Africa. So think about it the other way, local brands, regional brands also going international. So the more the merrier on the other side too. Um, I would also include two more from the healthcare industry. Haleon, which is basically GlaxoSmithKline, GSK's spinoff. Kenvue, which is Johnson's and Johnson's spinoff. So basically, they have a separate company for consumer health and beauty products. And then this is something really interesting, is because they are very much known in this space as well, but we don't think about it, unless out there. So we do see from the consumer health or the healthcare industry also more examples coming up. We have Sensodyne, which introduced Nourish. We also have Haleon's Parodontics. So we see Sensodyne majorly focuses on like the toothpaste, but when you come to parodontics, they look at gum health, they look at also mouthwashes. So very smart target segmentation over here. And then for Kenvue, of course, Johnson's and Johnson's, you would know, we do have Listerine from oral care, but we have Neutrogena, Aveeno for skincare, and OGX for hair care as well. So this is something that we see that also, as they did their separate companies focusing on these beauty and consumer health industries, we see that there is a greater focus on delivering better everyday health. And what this means is that before you get sick, you pop up your Panadol probably, but now they're trying to say that we are not with you only in sickness, we are with you in health as well. Use us every day to fulfill what you have to do. We want to make sure you have clean teeth, good skin, etc. So brands are also being there over here with you, or trying to be, and to make sure that you are fine every day by being with you, with this tagline such as delivering better everyday health, and focusing on everyday care through consumer health as well. So this is something that we will continue to see more of. um, as we close to the end, I don't want to leave out saloons We go to them like the barber shop also. So let's think about saloons in a holistic manner, even for kids when they need their haircut. So the better the experience, why not, right? So there is one saloon, or let's say Mason Nefertari. This is a UV based example. And what we see over here is taking the element of Arab health and beauty from the ancient times. So the ancient healing example, which we also have in Ayurveda. So it showcases over here that, using our current science and technology, but also, focusing on our existing roots, from our roots, it's very powerful. So ancient and modern times together, it's the best of both worlds. The element of massages as a part of healing is something we see increasingly across. All right. And then we also have this hair care brand, which is Davines. So I want to mention this because it's like prestige premium hair care, and we do see this evolving as well. So high-end saloon hair and skincare brand, connecting self-care to life, universe, nature, planet, and beyond. So if you see, the target segmentation or the positioning is quite nice, because you see like this one is a shampoo or a hair treatment, and it says heart of glass. And they have other also. So each of them has like a story behind it and what it wants to get on. So why not make it fun? Whenever you put an element on fun, is what we see that's coming out over here, which is quite nice. In the summary, I would like to mention, and we would all be feeling also, that the future is actually now. Globally, the Middle East presents new opportunities amongst the global challenges that's existing. There is consumers wanting to go into like exploring more kind of products and services that are going to help them for self-investment. And as companies, they evolve and bring in new products, or even like existing products and innovation into the market, they have to really say, what is this product or service giving to the consumers through this? And is it aligned with their beliefs, their wants, their authentic self, or what they want to be? As they do this, they have to also realize wellness has become a key feature for beauty consumers. So that's something that will continue to evolve over the years, and this is just the starting point still. It's very important for brands to show empathy, engage with consumers, show that they're authentic and genuine as well. And then also, it doesn't matter where they are, but they should reach the consumers. So have to make sure that, whether it's online, online and offline, it is giving the companies are giving the right channel mix in context of new normal priorities, complementing even government initiatives. If the country is wanting to reduce the burden of healthcare, if they want their people to be happy and healthy, how can the business even contribute to that? That would be also a very nice way of looking at it. And then also, looking at government initiatives per country and vision per country, and how they can incorporate all these elements to create a successful strategy to be in this market, and then be able to satisfy consumer demands well. So yeah, thank you so much. Thank you. We have time for some question. We have a question over here.
Amna, hi. Always lovely to see you. And we really depend on your data centricity year after year as retailers. So thank you for doing that for the last few years that I've been attending this conference. I have a particular question about one of the data sets that you'd mentioned on one slide with regard to the opportunity in Saudi Arabia.
Mhm.
So, given that Beauty World Middle East has rebranded with this conference onwards from natural and organic to clean and conscious, I would love to hear your thoughts about how this is going to grow in Saudi, in a region where, yes, you do have the next generation of consumers, but there's not a lot of awareness around clean and conscious. And how would retailers look at that in order to leverage their business?
Great question, and always lovely to see you as well. So, as in Saudi, we have Vision 2030, and 7 years almost to 2030, we see that the process has started, but it will take some time to continue to go on a larger scale. Right now, there is demand that is starting to be. Consumers are curious to be aware of like what is it in when it comes to conscious, green, clean, what is the difference, what is sustainability, is there any greenwashing happening, but when you look at the product when it's out in the market and then the proper information is provided by the brand or the company in itself, they are very much open of taking it and accepting it. Also, for example, I mentioned over here the Arab beauty element. A lot of them you can see also which could be common in the region or globally. So when they can establish that relationship and then when they know, okay, this is the linkage, then it helps them to open their awareness chamber, if you would say, in their mind, and they are accepting it more than ever before. It's quite transformational because like I also worked on this Saudi strategy brief for Euromonitor, which is luxury in Saudi, and we looked at it in element of the deep dived into the Saudi vision, the different commissions that they have. They have the fashion commission, they have film commission, etc. And then we also looked into it that, as the region, they also want to reduce the burden of healthcare in the region and in countries, and there is a lot of development happening into that space. And when you link that, when you think about like Nadi Pharmaceuticals, when you think about Al Dawa, when you also look at like Sephora or even online players, we see that the starting stage one has started, and with increasing consumer awareness and proper brand awareness, if the brand continues to make the consumers aware of what it means for them, and this was my idea when I presented over here, is that everyone is seeing it, but putting it out in the open is becoming really important because that's where we are going in. So if the brand starts to make that awareness now, it's going to reach the evoke set of the consumer faster because the process has started. So 2030, 7 years, but the process has started. So I trust that answers your question. If anything, I'll be around. There's one more question over there.
Hi, Amna. Thank you so much for your insight as always. So I'm from a contract manufacturer based in Spain, and I cover the Middle East region. And I want to ask you, there's a lot of focus on, local manufacturing, but I know that a lot of people still look for the made in EU because of the perception that obviously quality is higher. So I just want to know your insight if you think, there's still space for that in the market.
So, coexisting in a peaceful way, if I may say so, the global manufacturing still leads in this region, but we see more local manufacturing also appearing. So it will be in that space where a lot of the demand through the products continue to be remained by global companies, but the manufacturing shift because of like cost of living, supply chain dynamics, etc. There will be local manufacturing that will start picking up. So over the years we will see that percentage expand, but the global will remain dominant for a while. So just to answer your question, thank you so much and enjoy the rest of your day and the event. Thank you.